All right, welcome everybody to IS50A and B. This is a summer session class, summer of 2022. Class is officially canceled for today, but nothing can stop me from recording a video and posting it online and giving you all homework anyway. So I'm not getting paid for this, but nothing stops me from talking. All right. So the purpose of this class is threefold. First is to learn to make games. Obviously, it's a game development class. By the end of the semester, which is to say the end of July this month, you will have made a game of some sort. It doesn't have to be a giant game like Skyrim, but a game. You're going to learn about modifying games. There's a lot of people who play this new game called Minecraft or something, I don't know. And Minecraft mods are very popular, things like that. Personally, what I'm most famous for online is a Quake modification I made called Custom Team Fortress. Some of you might be familiar with Team Fortress 2, which is a game about collecting hats or something, I don't know. It's a first-person shooter in which you can play different classes, and it's PvP, team PvP. Prior to Team Fortress 2 was Team Fortress Classic. Prior to Team Fortress Classic was Team Fortress 1. And I wrote a mod for Team Fortress 1 that became, at times, the most played mod for Team Fortress. And what it allowed you to do was to make your own class. And so it gives you a budget of $10,000. A sniper rifle is, let's say, $4,000. A rocket launcher is $3,000. You can buy armor, speed, the ability to build sentry guns, things like that. And so you can mix and match elements of the different classes together. And as I think you can probably guess, it was quite popular. Some of the people from Team Fortress Software played it and liked it a lot. Robin Walker, I met Robin Walker. He was peripherally aware of my mod, but it was still kind of cool getting to talk to him and hang out with him for a little bit. So something like, I don't know, 1 million people played that. As best as I can estimate. It's hard to tell from usernames because people can change usernames, but we had about 4 million unique usernames play it. So I figure with cutting that down by like 25%, I think around million is a good number. So first thing you're gonna do, make a game. Second thing you're gonna do is mod. Learn about modding games, changing games, taking an existing game and manipulating it is a great way of learning how to do game development because you don't have to write everything from scratch. You don't have to create a new text file and go hello world and like build World of Warcraft from there. You start with Minecraft that's already done. It's already got networking, graphics, and all that kind of stuff in, and then you can work on one small piece of it and modify it. And that's a great way of learning how games work. You kind of learn from the masters, so to speak, right? You get to see how really well-made games, hopefully really well-made games, are, and you get to learn about them from the inside, and then that educates you. It's a great, you learn by doing kind of thing. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to learn about game design. We're going to learn about how to make a fun game. We're going to learn about what makes games fun, which is kind of a weird thing to think about, right? Because we all know what makes games fun, right? Like, we all know that tic-tac-toe sucks, and we all know that Pente, which is like tic-tac-toe, but 5 in a row, is, maybe you don't know about Pente, but I think you can imagine, that is probably more fun than tic-tac-toe, and you probably have some intuitions, tic-tac-toe is not fun because, you can't win, right? And so what's the point of playing it? It's kind of a pointless game. But there's actually quite a lot of thought that goes into making a game fun, and it's a weird thing, right? Because most people are like, oh, I know it when I see it, but there's actually scholars that have dug into what makes a game fun, and these people are called ludologists. So I'm gonna type this out in Discord so you don't think I'm saying L-E-W-D. It is L-U-D-O. Ludo. Ludos is Latin for game, right? So ludology, which again you have to be very careful to pronounce correctly. spelled like that, uh, is the academic study of games. And it's a real field, believe it or not. You can actually be a professional ludologist as your career. A former student, now a friend of mine, who created the first mod for Stardew Valley, if you've heard of that game. He went to UC Santa Cruz as a computer science or game development major, because it's actually, a major you can take at real universities now, like UC's. There used to be, like, back in my day, like, if you wanted to become a game developer specifically, there were all these, like, kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say sketchy, but, like, they don't have a great reputation academies that will teach you, like, how to become a game developer. And nowadays, though, you can just take game dev class. You can take a game dev major at UC Irvine, UC Santa Cruz, and then at, like, my alma mater, UC San Diego, they have a game development class. I don't know if they have an actual major now, but the game development class started a year after I graduated, which was kind of disappointing. A friend of mine took it, and it was really good. So the point is that the study of games itself as an academic discipline is a thing, and we are going to get into that. We're going to get into game mechanics, and I've got textbooks over here, that you don't have to buy, because who buys textbooks, right? But, like, I've got, all sorts of various textbooks on, fun, which is kind of cool, honestly. Like, I'd rather read a book on fun than, I don't know, economics or something. I'm looking at my bookshelf over here. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So let's get going on the tech side of things. So, the class is going to require you basically to have a PC. If you can get it to work on Linux or Mac, more power to you. But students in the past have had problems with it, so my recommendation is to get a Windows machine, as little as I like saying that. To me, Windows is a gaming platform, so it doesn't bother me that much. I do all of my serious work on Linux, or GNU/Linux as I've come to call it these days. But Windows for me is for gaming, basically. Putting on Linux right now, yeah. So the school has actually pretty nice gaming laptops. They do not cost any money. If you want to check out a Windows gaming laptop from the school, you just have to give them, I think, your credit card or something, so that if you lose it, they charge you $1,100. But basically, it's free if you're a student. So that's a nice opportunity. Our school's actually really good about, like, helping students out, which is, it's kind of sad that I have to say that. You know what I mean? Like, our school's like, oh, you're too poor to have a laptop? Here, we'll buy one for you, And at my school, it's like, sucks to be you. They used to have computer labs that students could go to. They took those out. I visited UCSD during the pandemic, and, like, the computer lab where I did, like, half my homework is gone. Like, they just pulled it all out. And there's not even anything. It's not even like they used the space. It's just full of dust now. And it's right next to the road and on a major sidewalk. The dorms are right there. Just empty. They just pulled it out. They're like, nah. People got their own computers these days. And if you're too poor, screw you. I don't know. Yeah, at UCLA. When you take the equivalent of my Raspberry Pi class, my 4th semester class, we give you a Raspberry Pi and wires and LEDs and stuff like that, and they're like, no, it's $300, buy it yourself. So the point is, our school is really good about helping you out. So if you have trouble with any of this stuff, go to the library checkout page. If the link doesn't work, because it was weird, it worked for me for a while, then it didn't work. So if you have any questions about where to find the technology checkout page, you can either just Google or search for it on our school website, or just talk to me, and I'll find another link or something for you. So, can you make a Mac installer? Yeah, oh yeah, Aaron. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm not going to help you if you're on Mac or Linux. I figure you know what you're doing at that point. Okay. So in order to do this class, you need to have Unreal Engine installed. So you have to install the Epic Games Launcher. And then there's a tab here called Unreal Engine, and there's always news that is sometimes actually kind of useful. Because like they'll have like free workshops from time to time. Just free, you know. And I don't see any right now. But like the people at Epic will give a talk, like how do you use the new water system or whatever. And so you just sign up for it, and then you can actually take a workshop with the people who made Unreal Engine and know it far better than me, right? Like I've been doing this, I've been working with Unreal Engine for quite a while now, but it is a massive, massive product, right? Like it is huge. And I'm not like an artist, I'm not an animator, and so if you ask me questions about those, I can give you basic answers. Basically, my whole thing is about programming games. Like, I love coding. I like making software, especially fun software that people like using, not like office software. So UE5 is brand new. I played around with it when it was in beta, and it was very flaky. I shouldn't say very flaky, but there were some issues that just basically caused me to just be like, I'll put it aside. So you guys are the first semester where we are using Unreal Engine 5, and I fully expect me to say, oh, where did that thing go? Because it was here before. Because that's one of the things about Unreal Engine. I don't know if you know it, but like they update fairly often, and then they like move things around. So like a thing, like I'd be giving a talk, and it, it'd update or whatever, and then I go to like click on something and it's gone, and then I have to sit there and stare at it and be like, okay, where did you put it? So there's two different versions of Unreal Engine right now that if you have the hard drive space, I would recommend installing both of them. There's Unreal Engine 4.27.2 and Unreal Engine 5.02, and if you're watching this video in the future, all of these numbers will be different because they do update fairly quickly. I don't know if UE4 is going to update very much anymore because all their development is on 5 now, but I assume they'll be doing at least maintenance updates on 4 for a while. So, dear Unreal Engine source, give me 100 gigs of storage size back. Yeah, that's a good topic to bring up. Game development is murder on hard drives. I have never worked in a field that has, and like I worked in high performance computing, and to be fair, like we would generate data sets a terabyte in size or whatever, in 20 years ago, which is quite big. So other than that, game development is the worst field for hard drive space. I have 27 terabytes of hard drive space on my personal computer because of game development. Which is more hard drive space on my PC here than Hotmail had when it was bought out by Microsoft 20 years ago. All of Hotmail, which had, it was one of the biggest email servers in the world, was 4 terabytes or something like that in the year 2000-ish. So my little PC here, and it's because of this kind of stuff. So like, show folder. So like, here's a little demo, thing from UE5, and if we just right click and let it freeze, it's big. Like, there's a lot of free assets. What is an asset? An asset is art, music, icons, anything that you can put into a game is like an asset in the lingo. There's a lot of free resources out here, and that's great. The only downside is they're huge. Well, not all of them, but like if you're downloading like, 8K textures and things like that, like one texture or material technically that you like might use to make like a brick wall might be like 100 megabytes. Just one. So you download like a texture pack. This thing isn't even responding to me. That's how big it is. Okay. Yeah. So you're like I made like a little simple game with my daughter. Maybe I can play this for you. There we go. And it's something like 100 gigabytes, and it's not a big game. It's really not a big game, and it's 100 gigs. And so we were trying to do this online, it was pandemic, and so we had a Perforce server set up where it would mirror changes made to the other people in the project, and the person I was working with was in Oakhurst, with poor internet, and basically they never were able to finish the sync because it's so big. Right? Okay, so make sure you have UE5 installed because this is the first semester. Like I said, this is the first semester we're doing UE5. Do you think I could for this class open source? You work in GitHub? Yeah, absolutely. GitHub is terrible, by the way, at game development. So GitHub was designed for text code files. It is not designed for art. Anytime you make a change to the art, it copies it. And so where you had 100 megabytes before, you changed the name of the texture, you now have 200 megabytes. Yeah, it's garbage. So there's something called Get LFS, which is Dropbox is honestly like every solution's bad. Let me just put it that way. There is no good solution to the problem because for one thing, it's just the files are gargantuan, right? And so if you're working with a partner, it's like if you're in an office on like mega speed, LAN, it's one thing. Like if you're working and you don't have a great, you're like on Wi-Fi or something at Starbucks, there's just no good solution, right? And so working with Dropbox, I guess works. You can make it work. It's really kind of garbage. Perforce is the official way of syncing things up, but there's just really no good answer to the problem right now. UE5 makes it better to work with multiple people on one project, but it's like I said, just with that much data flying around, like it's just an absolute pain. So if you want to work with Git, you want to get what's called Get LFS, and so what that does is when you share a file, when you change a file, like if you change the name of a file, it changes the name in like a text file basically. And the files that are managed by Git are kind of like pointers into like Dropboxes and things like that. And so when you change it and update it, it doesn't have to push out copies of every asset that you have, but just this little metadata file, and it's much faster. Get LFS is the way to go, really. So if you're going to be using Git to sync your project, UE4 and UE5 do support Git, but like I said, nothing's good. Perforce is the officially blessed version if you want to do synchronization. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. So I just want to show you the game that we made. I think this was fall semester last year. So 2 semesters ago at this point. Compiling shaders. So in class, we registered everybody for a game jam. A game jam is when people have a very brief amount of time to make a game on a specific topic. And so I worked with my daughter. She all those lights you see on there, she put into the world. I did things like creating these particle effects here. So you got some. These are laser zombies, by the way, if you're wondering what they are. Got sprinting, jumping. Little invisible ramp here. You can see that the laser zombies kind of fade in and out of view. You can defeat their AI because they don't know how to jump. So you just sit there and snipe them off. And they dissolve. Do you see that when you disintegrate them? They dissolve. So my daughter built this giant ramp over here. I don't know. So we got some terrain, we got some shadows, we got some sky, we got some fog, some atmospheric haze. We got a nightclub up here. I don't know if the sound's going to come through. Let's see here. So my daughter built this whole thing here. Well, she was a 4th grader. So I got a little spiral staircase here with no rails. It's kind of annoying. Okay, I don't. Is the sound coming through? Do you guys hear the sound? No. Ah, ship's here. Nice. So it's like a nightclub up here. No sound? Only comes through if you're capturing the window. Oh, that's right. Okay. Thank you, Harlan. Change windows. Application. There. Nightclub is an OSHA approved, yeah. Okay, let's see. Do you hear it now? I don't know what that's about. Okay. Let's see if I can make it up the stairs again without falling. So in Unreal Engine, there's something called sound attenuation. So you can actually simulate. The sounds of like music through a wall and things like that. So do you hear like the nightclub music coming through? What's the breathing? Oh, the zombies or something. Okay, now watch when listen to the sound as I move up. All right. So switch the screen back. Change windows. Screen 2. Okay. So this is Unreal Engine. So this is kind of my way of. This is Unreal Engine 4. It's not Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 looks a little bit different, but this is the tool that we're going to be using this semester. It didn't win the Game Jam, in case you're asking. But I feel like it's not bad for a fourth grader. You know what I mean? Like it's so unrealistic. I feel like it's not terrible, right? And so basically, in order to make a game, I created the assets for the laser zombies, and then my daughter would just pick up a zombie like this and just put it in the world, like that. And what happened here? And so basically, you can just you got your assets down here. You can drag things out, add them to the world. Next time I launch the game, there's gonna be 4 laser zombies here, and if I wanted to, I could add some laser zombies out into the world or something like that. So that it's no longer safe to just run out as I do. And they're kind of invisible. Like they turn invisible, and then they fade in and they fade out, so it's a little bit stressful. So you can see I've got some lasers. There's a laser zombie bartender, right? Yeah. Okay. And then my daughter was kind of proud of this tool that she made here. So she placed all those rocks and added the light and stuff like that. She added all of those lights by hand, which took a while. Okay. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be. It's a nightclub. I don't know. Okay. But this is Unreal Engine, okay? And this is the tool we're going to be working with. And we'll go through like a full introduction to it at some point. But I just kind of want to show you kind of what it is. And I hope this shows you like it's not really that hard, right? Like you can just sit there and just like bloop and drag things out. If I wanted to, and again, we're going to go through this, in more detail. But like if I wanted to add a cylinder to the world, I could just click and drag, and there you go. I now have a cylinder on the world, and I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller. It's a water tower. If I wanted to change what it looks like, I could give it some sort of, that looks absolutely disgusting. Does that work? No. Oh yeah, nice flesh cylinder. And then you just hit play, and then you just play your game. You know, so it's very different from when I worked in game development. I was a professional. I worked in the industry for a couple of years. Um, we did not have drag and drop tools like this, where you could just like toss something out and hit play and see what it looks like. Uh, we had to basically recompile the game every time, and then launch, and it would have to load all the assets, and it would take like a couple minutes to iterate. And now you can just be like, look at that, that's not good. Look, you can see underneath it. Look, that's not good. All right, so maybe move the flesh cylinder over there. Hit play again. And that's how easy Unreal Engine is to do game development. You can just drag things out, change what they look like, hit play, and then kind of run over, take a look. Yeah, it's a little shorter than I want my meat cylinder to be, but texture is kind of weird and stretched out over there. Delete. Okay. Kind of creepy anyway. And then you hit save, and that's it. That's basically what you're going to be doing this semester as far as making games goes. Sweet Sue canned whole chicken. If you made the zombies able to climb, I like that. Yeah. Right now, the zombies have no ability to do anything but walk, and so they will path to you. Like the AI will. The way that I program the AI is that the zombies have a sight radius like this, out to a certain distance, and if they see you, it basically draws an invisible line from their eye to you, and if it hits you, then they see you, and then it will path. There's a there. You can see this is the nav mesh, which shows like which areas are connected to which areas, and so like you can see here, the zombies can path around anywhere on the top of the building, but they can't come down the ramp because the nav mesh isn't connected, right? So, which was deliberate. I kind of wanted them. I kind of wanted them stuck up there. So, like, if you were smart, you could kind of like exploit the AI and shoot them without getting hit. I don't know what this is all about. Oh, my daughter added a swimming pool up here. That's kind of cool. It's kind of a weird bit of architecture, though. I don't think that would hold up in real life. Is there a class on 3D modeling in Blender? There is, and they do 3D printing too using Blender, I think. I don't ask me about doing modeling. I'm like I said, my interest is in programming fundamentally. I will use art assets that other people make. If somebody makes me a laser shark or something, I will very happily put it into my game. I can't make it myself. I have very rudimentary 3D modeling skills. When I was in the industry and they asked me to make a spaceship, I made a pyramid. They're like, we don't have the art budget to make a spaceship. I'm like, all right, there you go. There you go. There's a spaceship, I messed with it a little bit, and textured it and stuff like that. But basically, it was a pyramid. That's a cone, not a pyramid. Yeah. Pyramids are perfectly valid. Yeah, I think so. Like you have your thrusters in the back, and then all the the other four sides. If it's a square pyramid or whatever it's called, you can put guns on it. Like, yeah. Doesn't need to go through atmosphere, right? And we used it. Like it actually was in a commercially released 3D virtual reality game. So, but cheap, yeah. My company was amazingly cheap, which is funny. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe it's not even surprising, but like, just they're throwing tons of money at making like virtual reality games, and then when it came to like, all right, we need to hire a 3D modeler because we had buildings that actually kind of looked like this in it. We're like, we need to hire somebody to do art for us, and they're like, all right, you got $50. Which is like what they paid like my boss per hour, right? Like, you got $50. I'm like, okay. So I hired a teenager in Australia to model a building for us for $50, and it actually looked pretty good. Yeah. So it's just kind of bizarre to me. Like, they're like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, but like, oh, how much are artists charging? $50, man. They're making the bank. Yeah, it's. I mean, to be fair, it's not. It's not. But yeah, and then I'm like, all right, now we need a spaceship. They're like, yeah, do it yourself. I'm like, okay, you're probably going to pay me more than $50, and then it turned out not to, because I made a pyramid. Okay. In fact, it's better shape if you don't re-enter. Um, okay. You can use Unreal Engine without C++ knowledge, but knowing it helps a lot if you want to give the finer details. Yeah. So that's a great question. There are two different ways of doing Unreal Engine. The first is you can program it in something called blueprints, and the second is using C++. And I teach using blueprints. There is no requirement to know how to program in this class. Everything will be very visual. So let me see if I can give you an example of this. These are my different assets in here for the laser zombie. Let's see here. Zombie blueprint. Here it is. BP stands for blueprint. Okay. So you can see I've got, if we get shot, we lose life and maybe die. So I've commented my code, which is considered good practice, because otherwise, when you don't, you get things like this. And this was probably as I was getting close to the deadline and was just hurriedly getting it done. Like, this thing got uploaded like an hour before the deadline, like at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I slept for an hour and took my daughter to school. Like, it was tight. Okay, so this is what blueprints look like. You don't have to understand what it is right now, but maybe I can just run you through this. So if they get shot, like by the lasers that I shoot, it basically, you take a certain amount of damage. It's like maybe the laser does 10 damage to you, and you've got 100 health or something. Health start. So the laser zombies have 75 health. You can see right here. That's what they start with. And so every time they get shot, this code enters. Like, it goes into this code, and the code flows along these white lines here. So the white line is the direction of execution, I guess. So, like, when you get shot, the first thing that happens is not this subtraction, actually. The subtraction's actually not the first thing that happens. The first thing that happens is that it calls this thing here, which sets the value of their health. And it sets the value of their health to be their current health minus... Maybe I should move it this way. Yeah. So it grabs their current health, like, let's say it's 75, and they took 10 damage. 75 minus 10 is 65, and it sets their health to be 65. So every time they get shot, their health gets reduced by the amount of damage. Okay? Oh, Lord. Is that really your code? Or is that just like a meme? Or is that... I think that might actually be Epic's blueprints. Some of the developers that work at Epic don't comment their code, and they create these massive, like, spaghetti things. Like, I like to think that at least this is understandable, right? Chips and logic gates, yeah, it's very similar to that, actually. So, can you zoom in a bit more? Sure. So, actually, it's max zoom right now. But, does this kind of make sense? Like we're gonna go over all of this stuff in the class. I'm just kind of giving you the high level preview today. Okay. Like, but does that make sense? Like, where this came from, how you make it, don't worry about it. But basically, every time the zombie gets shot, it takes the current health, subtracts the damage, and sets their health to that. Like, is that for people that have never programmed before? High school sophomores, like, thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up on chat. If that kind of makes sense. Okay. Similar to the language used for Lego robots, yeah. Although a lot of the robot stuff uses Scratch, where you like kind of click things together. This is more like wiring circuits, like Pornopposing, I think, or Sims. Flowcharting code, yeah, it's a lot like a flowchart. Okay. So then we have something called a branch here. A branch is an if statement. So if this condition is true, It goes this way. If the condition is false, well, it doesn't do anything. Okay? And so it's checking to see if health is less than 0. So if the new health is less than or equal to 0, then we're dead. Okay? If we're not dead, that's it. We've taken damage. We're done. I don't know what this thing here is. You're not important. You're now gone. So, do you guys, does that make sense also? Like, if your health is less than 0, then we're going to go over to the right, and I'm going to scroll over to the right in a second, but basically this is how you add intelligence to your games. So, if X, then Y kind of stuff, right? So if their health is less than 0, we're going to go do the death kind of stuff. If not, we're done. And if we wanted, we can add like a pain animation or something like that. So like a lot of games have a stun mechanic or a flinch mechanic where like if you hit them, then they go ah, and the monster kind of like reacts in pain, you know, or they get stunned or something, or they get knocked over or something like that. Oof, yeah, exactly. My code doesn't do any of that. They just keep running at you because they're laser zombies. They don't care. You can wire the blocks together and branch them. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then over here we got the death code. So the death code destroy. So it starts just deleting things. It deletes all sorts of stuff. It plays the sound of dust blowing. So when the zombies die, there's a particle effect that I created where when they die, like they turn white and then they like blow away in the wind. Which I'm kind of proud of. I'm not an art guy. I kind of like it. And then it waits for 2 seconds and then deletes itself. So basically it plays the particle effect of it disintegrating basically for 2 seconds and then it deletes itself from the world. There is a bug there where it's actually solid in the meantime. So as it's dying and disintegrating, you actually can't walk through it. But yeah, it's not the kind of bug that I really care enough about to fix. When I was actually working in industry, I would definitely have worked on fixing things like that. Let's see if I can. Yeah, you see that? So it's running at me. Let's see. It's running at me. Come on. Come on. Come on. There. You see the disintegrate effect? But like when I was walking forward, like I bumped into it when it's dead. When I was working in industry, that's the kind of stuff that I worried about fixing. And then after I worked in industry more, I realized that nobody in industry cared about things like that. So, like the hardest problem that I tried solving was that, like, imagine you have a gun and you walk up to a door. The gun would go through the door, right? Have you guys ever seen that in a video game? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, it's object clipping, right? And so CS:GO, yeah. So in Counter-Strike, they actually tried solving this problem because it was actually a big deal. If a gun went through a door, then because you can shoot through doors, then people could see people when they shouldn't be able to see them, and you would be able to kill them when you're not supposed to kill them. So the way that Counter-Strike solved that, although it sounds like there's still, that bug existing, is they actually have a version of your model that's the same, except the gun is shorter. And so when you go up to a door, it actually swaps your player's model out with one where it's got a short barrel.
What happened?
The clipping girl. And so
What?
Here we see a Bethesda employee seated at a standard bug collision husk enjoying another productive day of porting Skyrim around. Yeah.
What?
It's true though.
Bethesda's new office. And where the unofficial patches will fix this. What happened to these memes?
They're making fun of a bug that's common, and so this was something I spent a lot of time trying to resolve when I worked in the industry because it bugged me, right? I didn't like, and so like it was a hard problem, right? Like if you walk up to a wall and you're carrying a gun, where does the gun go? Right? Or do you just bounce, right? Like like you just can't walk any closer because you're holding a giant 6 foot long gun. You just can't, and then you like can't go through a door, right? Like,
How come we can't go through a door?
because the gun's too big.
Huh? The gun's too wide or the gun's too long?
Well, it's really long, right? So if you're trying to like imagine you've got a gun and it's through the doorway and you try rotating. Like, what do you do? Like, it's actually a really hard problem, you know? Like, and I spent way too much time.
Oh my god. Wait, what happened?
Look at the size of the thing, you know? Like, like how do you handle that, you know? And so what I ended up having it doing was like the gun, basically the gun would just go down like this, right? And then you can walk around, you know. So if you got close to a wall, the gun would just go like this, and it was a complete waste of my time because nobody cares. Like, that's what I realized after I worked in the industry. Like, everyone knows it's a hard problem, and just nobody cares unless it's actually a game breaking issue, like with CS, you know. Like, after a while, I was just like, oh, so you guys just didn't solve it. You could do that? Because I spent like probably 2 weeks working on this problem. You know, I was like, you just not? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. So like, it's actually really hard. You know.
What happened to that little girl right there?
She's having fun in a gun show. I don't know. It's a 50 cal. You know. And so, and this is one of the things that kills me. Like, you know, 50 cals are illegal in California. You know, because they're, I don't know, afraid somebody's going to rob a bank. You know, with a $10,000 gun.
Apparently somebody's been watching too many action movies.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Like.
What the heck?
It's a big gun. Like, nobody, like, there's never been a robbery in existence. Like, put your hands up and you can't even get your gun up because it hits the ceiling, you know, to fire a warning shot. You're like, ugh, trying to go in through the doors of the bank, like, this is a stick up eventually. Hang on. Yeah, it's a hard problem. Okay. So, yeah.
What video game we did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was talking about, yeah. So, hunting tanks, yeah. If you make a dedicated, yeah.
Do you like the mansion?
So, but some games do go to that effort. So, like, has anyone here played a game called The Last of Us or The Last of Us 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. So, yes, girl.
I actually do need you to order me food. I can't find the curry.
What's that?
I can't find the curry.
Oh, check the door. I ordered you a Cali roll.
Oh,
So.
thank you.
The ladder moving simulator? No, that's isn't that Death Stranding? Or so Lim, do you know what I'm talking about when like you open a door in The Last of Us? Like they actually animate the person's hand going out and touching the doorknob and turning it and rotating it and stuff like that. Yeah, and then if there's a zombie on the other side, like they have to handle that. Like it was a lot. Like I read a thing from a Naughty Dog employee, and like it was a lot. Like they get like flashbacks from like doors, you know, because like it's a lot of work. And so like in game development, here's your first lesson of the day. In game development, if you don't need to do that level of detail, just don't. Do what most video games do. You walk up to a door, it opens, like whatever, you know. Like, but in Last of Us, it actually mattered because it was about sneaking around and opening, and all that had to be done very, you know, precisely and accurately. So, sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, because like, what if something's on the other side, then it gets stuck, or what if somebody tries crashing through the door while you're opening it? Like, there's an immense number of situations that have to be handled. And I was reading this, I'm like, I just have the door swing up. Like, my doors go down through the earth. Like, there you go. Yeah, I literally have never spent that much time on a door in my life, but they did, you know, because they needed it. Yeah, Doom doors. Yeah, you just walk. You know, in Doom, actually, a lot of times you would have to hit a button, and then the thing would slide through the ground. You know, but in Quake, there would just be an invisible trigger zone. You walk into the trigger box, and it opens the door for you. Simple. In fact, you can see it right here, this thing called a box trigger. And so, here's a box trigger. and I can just put, it's invisible. If I hit play, you won't see this, right? And so you can move these things around and make them bigger, whatever size. And so basically you just slap this box trigger. It's invisible, like I said, around the door. And then when the person walks into it, you have the trigger play the animation to open the door. Simple, done. I'm probably going to teach you guys how to do doors at some point in the semester. It takes an hour to learn how to do it, if that. But like I said, like I was reading this thing from Naughty Dog, and I was like, huh. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Like, I wouldn't do that much work myself, So. Most complicated door is a Doom mod, yeah. Open a door by resizing it, yeah. It's funny. Okay, so let's do this. So, has everyone had a chance to download Unreal Engine? Unreal Engine 5, like I said. I'm going to close out of this one. We're going to do a little intro to Unreal Engine 5. So, like I said, the school officially canceled class for today. But they said that if I put up a alternative assignment, then you won't need to come in after the semester's over. So I think, yeah, we can all do that. I'm going to put up just a assignment that's going to be due on Friday, and it's going to be just basically you running through an Unreal tutorial. But I'm kind of gonna do it myself if you're okay with that. So I think it's more entertaining and more interesting to have a real life person teaching you than a YouTube video. But technically, I can't teach you because class is canceled. So this is just a video. I was a businessman doing business. You're at school? No, Unreal? Okay. Shep, you took IS50A, so you should remember how to do it. Where's the link to download? All of the links for this class are in the... I made a announcement on Canvas and I sent out an email. No, it's on the email. It's in the Canvas announcement, and that has all the links for all the things, all the steps you need to go through for this class. So just check Canvas. Okay. So this is what Unreal Engine 5 looks like. This is the launcher, at least. And the interesting thing about Unreal is that it's actually used outside of the games industry also. There's a lot of advertising and filmmaking and things like that people do in Unreal Engine, and it's all free for that, which is kind of cool. I don't know. So there's all sorts of stuff, architectural visualization. They added all sorts of like materials for car paint, specifically for like showing off cars. It's kind of cool. And then you can just use them in your games. But we're going to be doing games. And so this is the character from their demo for Unreal Engine 5. So what you're going to do is you're going to launch Unreal Engine 5. You're going to probably have nothing under my recent projects, probably. Although, yeah. Downloading the Lyra starter game, I recommend. But for now, just click on the Games tab. Oh, wait. What the heck? What happened to your locale? Like, that's not what it looks like on my computer. I don't know. Jeez. Launching UE5 for the first time should be open by the end of class, yeah. And that, again, if you don't have a good PC, the computer lab on campus is just they just refreshed the entire lab. Yay. I have not seen it yet. I have not been on campus yet. I have not seen the new computers, but I hear they're pretty cool. Our last computers had NVIDIA 960s in them, which is 3 generations. They were a mid-tier or low-tier graphics card 3 generations ago. So we've just upgraded. Yeah, we got new computers in 114. So hopefully whenever we're back in person, we'll be able to check them out, and hopefully everything will work. But when you're working at home, you really need to have a computer that's capable of having some gas. You know, like last semester I had a student who was using just like some cheap laptop with like an i3 and no dedicated graphics card trying to run Unreal Engine. Not a good experience. Not just get the loaner if that's your circumstance. You're running a 2070 Ti. That's cool. Yeah. 2070 Ti, and I would recommend at least 16 gigs of RAM at a minimum, 32 recommended, and 64 if you want to open up the Matrix project. The new Matrix movie, they made it partly in Unreal Engine, or at least the ads were in Unreal Engine, or the game, something like that. Anyhow, this is for the Matrix. It needs 64 gigs of RAM to run, and I don't have 64 on my PC. Just sad, like because my computer's actually pretty good, but I was like, I need what? I need what? Minimum? Like I'll try running it anyway. Crash. Like it just, you know. Yeah, 3080 will work well. Yeah. You're running McDonald's kiosk. Oh, you saw that thing with Doom running on the McDonald's kiosk. It's funny. Do the loaner computers work well? Yeah, they do. They're not top tier, but they're capable of running Unreal Engine for sure. Yeah, 3080 Ti is acceptable. Yeah, it's acceptable. All right. The 40 series should be coming out like somewhat soon. I don't know when exactly. September maybe. So we'll see. I'm a little afraid of that power draw though. 600 watt power draw on the 4090, something like that. I've heard rumored. I don't know if it's true. Okay. You need 56 more gigs to install Unreal Engine. Yeah, this game development is lethal on your hard drive. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is. Yeah, before I bought 20 extra terabytes of hard drive space for my machine, I was constantly having to uninstall games in order to like, yeah, like oh I want to download a building, you know. Oh well, there goes Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, because apparently this building is 100 gigs, same size as Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah. Hard drive? No, I bought. Here, if you're curious. This PC. Good job, Windows. Well done. That's what I like to see. Can't load. Who made this operating system? It's ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I've got a 8 or 10 terabyte SSD M2, and then Cursor Google says you can run off your NAS. Good luck. Sure. 4090 is 450 watts. Yeah, like I am scared of that much power consumption because all that's going to turn into heat, right? That's 450 watts of heating next to my legs. You know, I put in specifically an air conditioning in this room to cool my computer, but I'm still scared of that. Okay. How much is the SSD? It was around 1,000, I think. Yeah, yeah, it's not cheap. 18 terabyte. Yeah. Let's see if this thing loaded. Nope, still loading. Good job, Windows. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna launch Unreal Engine 5. You're gonna see it'll probably open up to your recent projects tab if you want to download Lyra Starter Game if you have the room for it. But we're gonna click on Games and we're gonna click on third person. Okay. First person is a little bit easier to work with, but it has the trouble of not being able to teach you about animations. And you already started first person shooter. I guess we do first person shooter. Yeah, sure. Why not? Make a first person shooter. And so I'm going to call this one Summer 2022. That's what I'm calling. Because every semester I create a project for that class. Okay, so again, games, first person, create the name of the project. You don't have to call yours Summer 22. You can call it Super Cool Game, whatever you want. And then hit create. Right there. And then you will see there is a new project. Okay. Named Summer 22 or Super Cool Project or whatever. All right. Could I only use it on the lab computers and not at home? Yeah, it's a little risky. In case you needed to do homework, you know. It's a little risky. Project files out of date. How's it out of date? I just made it. Okay. Hit update. And we'll save. All right. You're in. But yeah, like Margaret, like I said, you can just check out a laptop from the school. Then you don't need to borrow your relatives. Okay, so this is Unreal Engine 5. And it looks a little different. You might notice there's a panel that was over here on the left-hand side is gone now. We can bring that back by going to Window and choosing Place Actors. And then that brings up the palette on the left-hand side that I was using to drag out boxes and stuff like that. Okay. You're not seeing it, reapplying. Are any of your... Okay, either way, that's fine. Alright, so let's go through this. So at what point are we in the video recording? We are 56 minutes in, so we should probably set a marker on it at 56 minutes. Let's explain Unreal Engine 5. Okay, so this is Unreal Engine 5. Let me get my face out of the way for a second. And let me explain the different parts of the screen here. So you don't have the game tab. Oh, in the launcher. Back over here. So did you launch, did you click launch here? It's either recent projects or blank projects. Interesting. So when you hit launch on that, let me launch it again. So you don't have the templates. So you don't have these templates here. What about other people that have downloaded it? I wonder if there's like some step going through. Oh yeah, and when you create the project, you can choose to turn on ray tracing. I'd recommend leaving off. I've messed, like last semester I used ray tracing on the whole time, and it's okay, but it's also kind of buggy and glitchy. So you got the templates, huh? Oh, you installed it on. You built it from source though. You didn't go through the normal process of installation. So, yeah, if you want to turn on ray tracing, like, I won't stop you. Just be aware that the ray tracing is a little bit glitchy. It's not super glitchy, but it is a little bit glitchy. It's still under active development. Okay, so that mystery is resolved. All right, so let's go back here and let's explore Unreal Engine 5. Okay, well now the time is 59 minutes. Okay, so we'll set a marker here. So let's go over what Unreal Engine is all about. So Unreal Engine is all about doing what you see is what you get approach towards game design. So you build your level in this visual editor here, and you can build the level and put monsters into it and do your coding visually using blueprints without ever having to open up a C++ file, unless you want to, because that's a whole thing, you know. You could do, but like it's possible to make an entire game just here. Okay, so the only thing that I've done other than launching it is I went to Window and I chose Place Actors to pull up that tab on the left-hand side. Okay, so let me go through the interface. So first thing to know is if you right-click on the screen and kind of shake it up and down and left and right, you will see that the camera rotates. Okay. So you can look up, you can look down, left, right. Okay. And so that's how you look around when you're in the world editor kind of thing. All right. While holding down right click, if you press W, you go forward. If you press S, you go backwards. If you press A, you go left. And if you press D, you go right. Q, you go down. And E, you go up. So if you've ever played a first-person shooter on a PC, you will know that WASD are your typical movement commands and for a first-person shooter. And so since this is made by Epic, the video game editor uses WASD movement as well. W's forward, S is backwards, A is left, D is right, Q's up, E's down. Yep, or the other way around. You had to dream your WSD, Q's down, E's up. You had to dream your WASD keys are missing. Mine are actually a different color. So like if I just put my hand on the keyboard, they're textured and they have little ridges on them, so I can actually feel where WASD is without even having to look at it. I've got a Corsair with a Cherry MX Brown switches on it. Okay. Cool. So you can combine those two things together. So I can use WASD and just kind of use the right. I'm holding down right mouse click. If you don't hold down right mouse click, WASD do different things, right? You see these things switching over here. So as you hold down right mouse click, you can WASD around the level. You just kind of look at things and stuff like that. So that is how you navigate around in the world. Now left click is used for selecting things. So like let's say I want to mess with the box here. Okay, you just click on it, left mouse click. If you're in a Mac, I don't know what you're supposed to do because they don't have a right mouse click, but nice, running MX screens. Nice, yeah. Yeah, after using a mechanical keyboard, it's real hard to use a membrane keyboard. My biggest issue with laptops is that I just don't like the tactile feel of the keyboards. Like it feels like I'm typing on paper, like loose paper. Okay. All right, so left click selects. All right. Now, what can you do with something selected? Well, you can hit delete. So if you take your finger and hit the delete key, bloop, it's gone. So Control Z undoes it. So remember Control Z, undo. You can undo any mistake you make, almost. You like laptop keyboards? I mean, I use them obviously, but like I just, yeah. I think clicking with two fingers on a Mac is equivalent to right click. Okay. So Control Z. Okay, so you click, delete. Okay. Now, up here we've got. These are the primary ways. These little buttons up here are the primary ways of working with the objects in the world. Okay, so you can see they've got hotkeys, and when I was messing around with the laser zombies earlier, you probably saw this kind of stuff. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Right, you saw those probably flipping around without me explaining what I was doing. Well, I'm going to explain it now. W, E, and R. Okay. So that selects between these three different commands. Then Q is new in Unreal Engine 5, and it just selects things without being able to move them accidentally, which is kind of nice. So W turns on translate objects. Now, in game development, there is an entire set of terminology and lingo that can make it hard for students, okay? And so you might say, translate an object. Into which language? Into Spanish? I don't know how to say object in Espanol, but that's not at all what it means, right? So translation means movement. I don't know why they didn't just say move, but in game dev, translation means move. Okay, so the three things you can do to an object are translation, rotation, and scaling. Okay, so translation means you move it left, right, up, down, in or out. Rotation means you spin it, and scaling means you make it bigger and smaller. Okay, so that's yeah, it's like in math. It's a matrix operation, and anytime you see these kinds of things in um, that's funny. So you have location, rotation, and scale down here. Um, so those are the three operations you can do on an object. You can translate it, sliding it around. You can spin it. You can make it bigger, make it smaller. Okay. So ninth grade math, yeah, it's a thing. But anytime we encounter lingo in this class where there's some vocabulary that is common in game dev and not common in the real world, I'll explain it to you because there's a lot of it. It's probably the biggest the biggest obstacle, honestly, to game development is just that it's an industry that has its own terminology and even worse acronyms. So like if somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to put it into the DBSS," you're just like, what? Database screens. So I'll explain it to you. It's a promise. And if I don't, please ask on Discord. Okay? Because I don't want anyone confused. Is everyone okay so far? Like, am I going too fast or too slow? Please let me know on Discord right now while I take a sip of some delicious Cup of Joy coffee. This is a latte with an extra shot of espresso in it. Database super sus. Following, all right, yeah, and so yeah, pull up Unreal Engine 5, follow along. Give you plenty of time. Wish your download was faster. Yeah, that's why I put up the announcement a couple days ago because it's not small. It's not a small download. All right, so how do we translate something? So if you notice that whenever you click on an object, these little three arrows appear here. Okay. And there's a little white ball. All right, so the white ball is considered the origin of the object. So the origin is, you can think of it as like the center of the object, except it's not always at the center. But it's like where the game engine says the object is, right? But it's a 3D space, right? So that point is the location of the object. And the actual geometry could be anywhere. Like you can actually move the origin of an object around arbitrarily if you wanted to. There's a shortcut for that. We're not going to do that right now. So you can see here the origin, the little white ball, is right in the center of the box. But let's see. Over here you can see for the ramp, the origin is right on the edge of it. Okay, and that's again where that's the location of the object. But the actual shape can, like, you can have the center of it, the origin of it, be outside of the thing entirely. Like Unreal Engine does not care. You can move that around wherever you want, but that dot is the object's location. Okay. 5,799 shaders left to compile. Your fans are going crazy. Yeah. Game dev. All right. So let's move something. So click on one of the boxes, and you will see that, and also no matter how close or how far away you are from the object, those arrows are always the same size on the screen. You see that? To make it easy to click on. Okay, so there's three arrows. There is a red arrow, a green arrow, and a blue arrow. And you can actually click and drag on those arrows to move it in that direction. So red is the x-axis, green is the y-axis, and blue is the z-axis. This might come as a shock to you if you've done math in which z, like, when I took math, x and y were left to right is x, right? And y is up and down, right? And then z is into the paper, right? Do you guys remember that from math? It crashed. Not in 3D games, although it's not. It's very hard to make a universal statement about 3D games because there's. We'll just talk. We'll just limit our discussion to Unreal Engine. So in Unreal Engine, Z is up and down. Okay, Z is up and down, X is left and right, and Y is in and out. Okay, or you know, or now Y is left and right. You know, whatever. So X is the red arrow, Y is the green arrow, and Z is the blue arrow. And if you click and drag on it, the object will slide just on that axis. That's actually really nice. You will almost never see me grabbing on the white ball. The white ball allows you to move in all three directions at the same time. And the trouble is, do you notice how I have very little control over if it's up or down or left or right or whatever? You see sometimes it's like on top of the cylinder and then it goes below the ground. Like you see how hard that is to actually like control? It's super awkward. And I basically almost never do that. When I move objects, like if I want to put it on top of the little cylinder here, I will drag it on one axis, then I'll drag it on the other axis, and you'll see that it's kind of underneath the cylinder right now. And then I'll drag it up a little bit. And then you notice how it's kind of hovering in the air. Now, some students try to do this. Like they'll get real close, and they'll kind of like, all right, you know, and they'll kind of like look at it, like, no, still. Don't do that. Don't do that. There's a shortcut. This is the most important shortcut that you need to learn in this class, and that is the end key. So if you have a keyboard that doesn't have an end key, Lord help your soul, because watch what happens when you hit end. Bloop. Okay. So it snaps down to touch, right? And so you no longer have to sit there and be like, all right, is it? Yeah, a little bit of gap there. That was the worst part of game development for me, because if you ever have like a gap between two objects that should be touching, light will go through. Light will go through, and you get like these little zebra stripes on your map, and it's so annoying to deal with. It's so annoying to deal with, because like you put a bright, like you don't even notice it, but then you put a bright light, or there's just an explosion, and like stripes start appearing on your map. You're like, ah, you sit there and you go in there and you like tweak it like 1 centimeter, and then it's hovering inch off the ground, and dude, it killed me, you know. So gravity, yeah, so there's by default no gravity on this. You can turn it on, but watch. Let's see, snap, view to object, focus, select donor, yeah, I don't know. So hit end, and it drops to the ground. Nice. That's end. That's the end key. Okay. Nothing standard. Yeah, so OpenGL and DirectX are two competing standards for rendering. There's also Vulkan. They use different standards, you know, and so there's just a lot of really annoying things. I had a project that had two different renderers in it, and one of them used a left-handed rendering system, and another other one used a right-handed rendering system for X, Y, and Z. You know, the right-hand rule, right? X, Y, Z, or whatever. Yeah, and so. If you want to talk about code nightmares, it's just like, okay, all right, okay. Oh, do I slide this in the X or the Y? Wait, the Y is in the wrong direction because we're using this engine for this. Don't recommend it for anyone. Don't recommend it for anyone. Like I said, just stick to. We'll just use the Unreal conventions and just not worry about all that other stuff. Okay. So does it work sideways? No. It's only dropping to the ground. It's only dropping to the ground. Okay, so yep. For things like that, you'll probably these just very perfectly touch. So if you want to get this flush, nice thing here, you'll notice that these walls are all exactly 5 squares. I don't know what the square is exactly. Wide, right? Over here, you'll see something called snap to grid. Okay, and so snap to grid allows you to do, like, if you want two things to touch perfectly, like that, you have to make sure they're the right size, and then you enable snap to grid. And there, let me do this. So come over here, and if you have snap to grid on, you see how it's half a square, half a square, half a square, half a square. It's nice. If you're doing things that need very precise alignment like that, snap to grid. Like right there. You can turn it off. If you turn it off, now you see how I can just smoothly slide it around. You need that sometimes, and so turning on and off snap to grid is a thing, you know. Now it's completely misaligned. Oh. Undo, undo, undo. There we go. And then there's snap to grid also for rotation. So if you rotate something, which we'll do next, you can see it goes in 10-degree increments, and you can turn that off as well, like that, and then you can have more smooth things. But oftentimes, yeah, if you need alignment, snap to grid is essential. You really want to do that, and you can actually edit the location and things like that, like right here. So like, if this guy, like if you're dragging it around and you're just not getting it right, you can actually come in here and be like, all right, well, it needs to be 200 centimeters higher, right? And you can actually just edit that. You see right here, I came in here and changed the Z value, and it'll update on the screen. So again, Unreal Engine is a what you see is what you get visual editor, and you can edit the location, the rotation, the scale by text. Usually, though, we just do it visually. Okay, so measurements are in centimeters. Yeah, so the units of measurement are centimeters for location, degrees for rotation. We don't use radians, which you might be like what? Why would you not use radians? Radians are the scientific way of doing. No, radians suck. Sorry, but it's true. Radians are useful if you're doing math. They are not useful if you're doing game development. The reason for that being, like, what if you need to rotate something 180 degrees? Well, I can come in here and be like, you are rotated 180 degrees. And there you go. Try typing pi accurately. You can't. You can't ever do it precisely using radians, right? So 0, I guess. You can enter 0. Yeah, there you go. But like, if you need to rotate something precisely 90 degrees, you can't enter it. And so in game development, it's very common to use degrees for everything. In C++, they use radians for everything. And so you constantly have to translate back and forth between degrees and radians when you're doing any trigonometric stuff, and that's a pain. But like I said, in game dev, it's very common to use degrees because you can type in 90 and not have to do pi over 4, right? So tau, 2 pi, yeah. So is it important to make the dimensions of the level accurate to real life? Yes, because the game engine's defaults assume that, and you will run into really weird bugs if, like, let's just say you scaled everything down to like 1% size, like you're making a game for mice, right? It won't work right unless you know every place in the code where those units are used and fix them. Things like step size. So, like, have you ever played a video game where you walk up like steps and you get stuck? Like, you can't, like, you should be able to walk up it, but you can't, right? Like, you like, it just arrests your movement. You guys know what I'm talking about? That's because in most video games there's something called step size, where if you hit a wall, like this has ramps, which is not especially useful. There's no steps, but like if you hit a wall, right, it bounces you off the wall. Okay. And the reason for that is because the wall, the vertical height here, is bigger than our step size. But if you put a small obstacle in here, let's just do this, like a centimeter up. Did it fall out of the world? Oh, they have gravity on them. Yeah. You know, undo. I'm just going to draw a box out. Yep. Just to demonstrate my point. So if you run into a wall, though, and it's below your step size, you step up on it, right? You see that? And it's just natural. Like, you don't even think about it, but somebody had to code that, right? Somebody actually had to program that if you run into a vertical wall, you have to figure out what the height of that wall is, right? And relative to the height your foot is at, right? And grab the step height. And if it's below the step height, you have to teleport the person up on top of it, basically, right? And you'd be surprised, like, how hard that is to get done right. And so, yeah, like, if you wanted everything small, then your step height breaks. And like, you'd be walking around and you would suddenly teleport up on top of the wall because that thing's less than a centimeter because you scaled everything down. So my advice is just to leave all of that untouched. Like, don't do anything fancy. Nav meshes are the same way. So, like, I showed you with the laser zombies, like, the game figures out what areas are pathable for AI, and that has a step height in it. And so if you shrunk everything down, everything's pathable because it could just step up on everything. Yeah, so don't mess with the scale, especially when you're starting. Like, I can just think of a half dozen ways why that would break, right? What if you want to make a game where your character is a giant? I wouldn't start with that for now. I've done games like that before, and it creates a lot of problems. Just don't mess with scale for now until you really know what you're doing. Better to mess with skybox and gravity, sure. Yeah, so like if you wanted, you could replace the skybox here with like a children's playroom, right? And now it looks like you're within a little play set, you know. But it's just just a graphic. And you can make these boxes like children's toys and things like that, right? So you could do that, but I like I said, just I would just in general not screw with any of that kind of stuff. It's actually really hard to get working right. You will encounter a lot of bugs if you do that. Okay, so second tool we got is good questions. I really like the questions you guys are doing. This is going to be a good semester. So second tool here is rotate objects. Hotkey is E. Click, and then you will see instead of the arrows here, you get the little rotation thing. Okay, and so you just click and drag on any of these things, and you can rotate it along any axis you want. Do you see that? It's pretty visual, right? Like, I don't think that's too hard to mess with. Yeah, too hard to understand. So you can spin it. That's rotation around Z, rotation around X, and rotation around Y. That's why this is colored red. It's actually rotating around the X-axis. The X-axis is this way right now. Z is up, and so this is rotation around Z. And then Y is left and right now. And it's rotation around Y. Okay. Any questions about that? Translation, rotation? Yeah, like I said, you can click on the white box and move in all three axes at the same time, but usually you want to move in one axis at a time. If you want to do two axes at a time, there is a little intersection right there, and that'll allow you to slide it on the plane. So if you click on that little 90-degree angle sign between the X and the Y axis, that'll slide it on the XY plane. If you want. I usually don't though, because like if I wanted to move it from here to that thing, I first slide it in one axis, and then I'm like, okay, well, actually that's pretty lined up, you know. Whereas if you did this, then things tend not to get lined up very well. You know, you're trying to do multiple boxes at the same time. And then they're like a couple centimeters off, and then you have to go in there and like, you know, you're like, all right, get in here and edit the locations manually, and like, trust me on this, just one axis at a time. It's the way to go. You like cats? You wanted Kearney to rotate the cat. I'll rotate a shark if you want. Okay. So, you guys with me on this? Moving objects around the world, rotating things. Yeah. Any questions? Because I'll move on. You know, I assume you guys will understand what I'm saying, but if you don't, you have to let me know. I can't read your minds. What is the end hotkey? It drops an object to the ground. Super useful. And so on your keyboard, hopefully you have an end key. Not all keyboards do. And you could probably rebind that in the preferences somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, if you have, let's say your box is just floating a little bit above the ground like that. If you hit tap end, it drops to the ground. You have delete, you don't have end. Lord. It's in here somewhere, probably. I don't know. Yeah, you're gonna have to go through the editor preferences and find where that hotkey's set, and then rebind it to something you can use. Yep. Yeah, I would get a full size keyboard though. A lot of people like keyboards that don't have number pads on them. I guess that's a thing, and I guess I kind of get it. Like my desk would be a little bit easier to work with without a number pad, but I really like the number pad. So, oh, you're using a laptop? Yeah. Function right arrow? Yeah. If you're using a laptop, look at like your function keys and things like that. A lot of times they'll have the extended keys on them somewhere. So like if you hit function F3 or something, then that'll be end. Yeah, I like number pads. I could not use a keyboard without it. Even though my layout here is, it would definitely help with organizing everything. Okay. All right, so that is rotation. Then there is scaling. Okay, so scaling is actually something you're not going to do very often. For basic shapes, sure. Like if you wanted to make a wall, you could put a cube into the world and then scale it and be like, look, I got a wall, right? But like, look what happens if you do this with, and don't worry about what I'm doing here. Just let me just show you. Where are you? Props. Everything's too big. Yeah, let's put out a chair. Okay. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. Don't worry about it. But let me just show you what happens when you scale it. If you scale it, then you know what I mean? Like it doesn't usually look very good. Like, I mean, in some circumstances, like, look, we got a Chase Lounge now. You know, it's a pool furniture. I don't know. But like scaling usually just if you're doing like a Salvador Dali game, sure, you know. But sometimes you'll scale things, but like it's just not very common for complex objects. The only scaling you might do is proportional scaling, and that involves clicking and dragging on the white box in the middle. So in the very middle, there's a white box, and that will scale it up and down. But even then, as you can see, it's really like, why would you want a giant chair? You know, like, if you're trying to do like that game you were talking about where you're like the size of a mouse, sure, yeah, okay, fine. Under most normal circumstances, you very rarely scale things. Like, you especially don't use the one-axis or two-axis scaling, right? Like, this, it's just like, are you guys with me on this? Like, it doesn't look good, right? Like. There may be some niche, thing you want to do with it. But, why don't you want a giant chair? Yeah. In general, it just looks like terrible, right? To scale. So yeah, scaling things like a simple cube or something like that to make to just knock out a wall. Yeah, sure. But the second you put a texture on it, like watch this. Okay. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Don't try and follow what I'm doing. I just want to show you this, and I'll show you how to do it later. Okay? You guys cool with that? Like, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I just kind of want to show you the problem. Right, so here we have a texture. And as you make the wall bigger, it just looks horrible. Okay. So even if you do like a basic wall like that, if you scale it, the textures all look just garbage. And yeah, if you want to make a special effect of like, I don't know, something, maybe. It's just not very common. It's there. It's one of the basic tools, right? Like it's one of the basic tools. It's W, E, and R, right? Like when you got something clicked, you know, W is translate, E is rotate, R is scale. It's there, and you know, you'll do it occasionally. It's just not very common. Okay. I hate dealing with textures. Yeah, textures are kind of a pain to deal with. And there's ways to make them tile properly when you scale and stuff like that, but it takes effort to do it. Snap to surface. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So that's new, actually. So you're asking about snapping when going sideways. So that's cool. That's new. All right. What else we got over here? Camera speed is actually something I play with a lot. When you have a bigger project, when you WASD around, it can actually take a while. Like if you've got like an island over there and you're trying to travel to it, like this is not fast enough, right? And so you need to face out of the way. You need to turn up or turn down the camera speed. And I turn down the camera speed a lot also when like doing really fine precision work. You know, I've got camera speed turned down to 1 and I'm like really trying to like line things up. You know, I'll do that. For now though, leaving camera speed at 4 is fine. Alright, so that is the main screen. The main screen is the preview of your world. If you want to play your world, you can just hit play, just like that. Bloop, and you're in the world. And you can hit escape to get back out. So if you want to preview your world and see what your game's like, you just hit play, and boom, you instantly get to play it. And when you're done, hit escape, and you're back in the editor again. This makes the development loop much faster than when I worked in industry, which, like I said, we had to recompile the game every time. Now, if we had a map or something, we can edit the map and hot reload it and things like that. But the game itself, with all the code, had to be compiled because it was C++, right? And so you had to just recompile, which took a while, and relaunch the game, which took a while because it had to reload all the assets. And this is just really nice because you can just sit there and just move some things around, hit play, try it. That didn't work. Escape, go back, play it. That's good. Hit escape to get back out. So it makes development go a lot faster. I really like. I would not go back to the way that I was doing coding when I worked in industry. It was just slow. It was just really slow. When did the balls disappear? Do you want to find out? Blueprints. First person projectile. They might have a lifespan set on them. 3 seconds. So you can set a lifespan on objects in Unreal Engine where like you can make them in the world and then no matter what happens after 3 seconds they vanish. It's a great way of keeping your world from being overwhelmed with too many things moving around, right? Because all those balls have physics on them, so it has to, they bounce and they roll and they impact things, and if you have a million of them, like your game's going to die, right, from too much stuff on it. So anytime you have projectiles and things like that, it's a good practice to put a lifespan on them. Like people actually crashed my mod. So they did this. They did that for about a minute. and then they exceeded the maximum number of entities in the level, and the server would die, and they would just troll that way. So they would just go into the center of the world, just shoot straight up, projectiles straight up. And I had one projectile that didn't have a lifespan on it, and they found it, and they shot it straight up, and crashed the server. And yeah, yeah. So, scratch out literally nothing. WASD in the air like this, or you have to hold down right mouse click. So if you hold down right mouse click, you can WASD around, and Q and E are up and down if you want. Oh, in the game, you can't fly in the game. You can jump with space, but oh, you want air control, like you want to be able to walk backwards. It's like jump and you want to move backwards. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, air control is it's in here somewhere. First person character movement. Air control is set to 0.05 right now, so you can adjust these values if you want. So if you want to find that, again, you're jumping like several lectures ahead, but that's under first person blueprints, first person character. Double click on that. You guys don't have to do this. I'm just showing you because you asked the question. Click on character movement. Under falling and jumping, there is air control, and so you can set the amount of air control you have there. So that answers your question, right? TCROM. You can adjust the camera speed with the mouse wheel when moving the camera as well. Yeah. At least you could in Unreal Engine 4. It's not doing it right now. In Unreal Engine 4, you can mouse wheel, and the camera speed would change, but it's not doing that for me. Okay, let's continue our tour of Unreal Engine 5. So, over on the top right part of the screen right here is called the World Outliner. And this is a great way of finding things, because the games get very big and complicated, right? Every object you put in the world is in the world. And it can get very hard, like, all right, where is... where is the key, that people are trying to find? And you can't find it. And it's inside of a, like you moved a cylinder or something and you can't see it, right? So the World Outliner allows you to find anything in your world. And it's important to give objects good names so that you can find them later, right? The Unreal people name them Cube 9, Cube 10, which tells us absolutely nothing about them, right? But, yeah. If you double click on something in the outliner, it jumps you to it, which is very nice. Like I said, when your worlds get really big, it can take a while to fly around, right? So what I'll typically do is just and then just teleport there. You can make folders, and so the folders playground. Okay, and so the folders are I use extensively. They're ways of organizing your stuff. And so rather than block 4, so you can see all these things that are part of block 4 are all kind of in a folder together. Then you can minimize the folder cylinder. And so they've got 4 different quarter cylinders. All right, cool. And so directional lighting, that's the sun. And fog and stuff like that. And so things like the sun and the fog don't actually, like when you run the game, this doesn't appear. This is hidden in the game world, but it has an icon in the world. And the reason why it has an icon in the world is so you can click on it, and then you can adjust things like the angle of the sun. So this icon here represents the sun, which is at an infinite distance, casting light down on the world. And if you wanted to, you can adjust the angle of the sun by using the rotate tool. So if you go up to rotate, and you rotate the sun, rotate the sun. Rotate the sun. Okay, it's not doing it. Oh, this sun. Wait, what was I rotating? Okay. There you go. What did I click on? All right. So that's the sun. Okay. So if you rotate the sun, you can see that the shadows lengthen. You also see the color of the sun changes. Look, it's becoming sunset. It's cool, right? That doesn't happen for free. Somebody had to code that, right? But you can see that it's now nighttime, and so you can add a day-night cycle really easily by simply rotating the sun. Like every second, you can have the sun rotate, 1 degree, and then it would turn into sunset and things like that. It's pretty cool. They've done a lot of work on Unreal Engine, and so you can see as it becomes sunset, like there's actual sunset clouds. Like this is not free. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not something that just, accidentally happened. Somebody coded this, right? So you can see the sun's over there, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Might be a little hard to play your game right now, but... Alright. So we'll go back to high noon. What do you guys think of that? I like it. I'm actually constantly impressed by how much just free stuff Unreal Engine gives you. Unreal Engine charges 10% off sales. I think it's 5% now, and it's only if you make $1 million. Maybe it's 10%. Maybe it's 10%. But yeah, only if you make $1 million. So if you release a game and your game makes $500,000, you don't have to pay anything to the Epic people. It's amazing. Given especially like you would have to normally pay somebody to do that, right? So like you would have to pay a programmer, and programmers are expensive. You'd have to pay somebody to program a day-night cycle, whereas the sun changes angles, the temperature of the sun changes, technically what it's called. And you'd have to do sunset effects and things like that, and oftentimes it's just too much work. Right? Like, you just are like, it costs us thousands of dollars to do a day-night cycle, and we really don't need it, so we'll just cut it. Whereas when you use Unreal Engine, you just get all that stuff for free, and then the amount that you pay them, 10%, is less than, you'd pay programmers to do equivalent amounts of stuff. So it's a really good deal, and it's free for students, and it's free for filmmaking and animation and stuff like that, too. So it's, I'm very pro Epic, because of this. I was kind of annoyed at them when they released the Epic Game Store because like all my games are on Steam and I don't want to have 2 different game libraries and things like that, but at least as far as Unreal Engine goes, they've definitely bought my goodwill, because all this kind of stuff used to require money, right? If you wanted to license the Quake engine, it's $100,000 up front. Not anymore. It's free. Yep. God Galaxy Launcher, yeah, I have that. 5%, yeah, okay. 5% cut on all gross revenue and applications created using the game once they make $3,000 per quarter. You're generally obligated to pay 5% once it generates $1 million in revenue. Yep. Yep. It's a really good deal. id Software, like I said, back in the 90s, was $100,000 up front, and they'll send you a copy of their source code. Have fun. That's how Half-Life, if you guys, has anyone here played Half-Life 1, the original Half-Life? Half-Life is a Quake mod. So, they took the source code, they bought it, right? They bought the source code, they modified it heavily, and that's where Half-Life came from. And then they eventually redid Half-Life using the source engine to make it look a little bit better. But the source engine is showing its age by now. So I would not recommend learning the source engine. I'd recommend learning Unreal Engine. And there's other engines out there. There's Godot, which is free. There's Unity, which a lot of people use. I would say Unity and Unreal are the 2 main game engines that I would recommend people use. If you're going to work for Electronic Arts, all EA games use the Frostbite engine. The Frostbite engine, however, is proprietary, and you can't learn it because they don't teach people outside of, and they don't give copies of it to anybody outside of EA. So that's kind of come back to bite them in the ass because, you want people at your company that know how to program already, right? It's like when you hire a UE4 dev or a UE5 dev, you hire them based on all the projects they've made in Unreal Engine already. It's like, oh wow, look at that, you made this cool thing. And at EA, Nobody's used the Frostbite engine because they don't allow you to. And so every person that comes into EA is hired basically speculatively, like, this guy looks like he'll do a good job. Because nobody has any experience with the thing they're using. And then they have to train people, and very few people know how to use it. And that's why you've gotten series of disasters from Electronic Arts. Mass Effect Andromeda was caused by a lack of people knowing the Frostbite engine. Like, that's why Mass Effect Andromeda was such a bad game. Because the few people who worked for BioWare that knew the engine got pulled off of it to go work on FIFA. Because FIFA also uses the Frostbite engine, and that's a bigger property than Mass Effect. And so they yoinked the people off the Mass Effect Andromeda that knew the engine to go work on a soccer game. And then BioWare completely, blew themselves up with Anthem. I had a friend of mine who works for BioWare, Austin, who worked on Anthem. He came to this class and gave a talk last summer or 2 summers ago. It's all kind of blurry now. How many engines don't originate from Quake is a real question. Yeah, that's true. Unreal Engine doesn't, right? Unreal Tournament and Quake were competing first-person shooters back in the day. And the original Unreal Engine was the engine for Unreal Tournament. They had Unreal Script, and they had these things called mutators in Unreal Tournament, which were their own modding system. And then they sort of turned that into Unreal Engine, and we're now on Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, there's a lot that could be said about EA, but like Electronic Arts, if you don't know who EA is. Okay, so over here we got the outliner, right? So things like the atmosphere and skylight, directional light. The directional light's the sun. That's why it has a little sun icon. You can rotate it, like I said. Clouds, So that's the outliner, and you can double click on things to zoom to it, stuff like that. The thing below it is the details pad, and your thing might not be set to details, it might be set to world partition. So for now, you can probably just close world partition, because we're not going to be using that for a while. IS50B people, yeah, maybe. So, so when you click on like the sun, okay, the details down here will change, all right? And there's a lot of details for the sun, right? And some of these things are hidden. So if you click on the little drop down, you get lots of options on it. My advice to you is to spend some time with this and just mess with it. Okay? And if it doesn't do anything, just hit undo. So for example, what is soft source angle? Well, I don't know, let's try it. Let's set it to 90. Okay, it didn't seem to do anything. Now, watch this. I could hit undo immediately, but if you've ever made a change to the sun, this little undo icon over the right-hand side. So we can do other stuff, like we can go and delete the world and whatever, and then like two years later we can come back to this, and you'll see that the undo icon is still there. And so if you ever need to reset something to the default, because you know you changed it, you screwed it up, you don't know where, well, boop, there you go. So it's a permanent undo system for basically, all these kinds of things. And you can always click on the undo thing here and set it back to the default. Now, the default, by the way, is not always the default for directional lights. And so the project itself comes with changes made to it. So you need to be a little bit careful, I guess. Okay, so here we go. Here we have the temperature of the sun. So the temperature of the sun sounds really weird, right? But white light comes in different temperatures, and we'll do a lecture at some point on light. If you look at the lighting behind me, is this a more bluish light, or is this a more yellowish light? What do you think? In my room. Yeah, it's a yellow. It's a warm light. Okay. I have 3 soft white lights in this room, and it creates a yellowish tinge to everything that is relaxing and soothing for humans. It reminds us of campfires and things like that. But blue in the doorway, yes, very good. So that is natural sunlight coming through a window over there. Okay, And you can see the sun right now at 2 p.m. is a lot more blue than the light here in my room. And so some lights you get are bluish, some are yellowish. And so this thing here, this temperature, you can change the color of that. And you can see I upped the temperature and the world now has a blue tint to the sun. And if I want to go back, I can hit that and you can see the sun is now yellowish. You probably didn't even notice that before, right? But look, bluish light, yellowish light. And the game engine, as you have the sun go down, see how it messes with the tinting? It's pretty cool. All right, so the details are all done here. And the best advice I can give you in this class, and this isn't just like for this lecture here, it's for the entire class, is that whenever you see something interesting, just change it. You know, you're not going to break your game. You know, it's extraordinarily rare for you to make a change that can't be undid. Undid? It can happen, but it's very rare. And so, like, you click on something and you're like, I don't know, what does enable gravity do, right? So we got this box over here, and this box has enable gravity on, so let's just run it, and oh, look, it fell. That's cool. All right, let's try turning enable gravity off. All right, let's see what that does. Hey, cool, check it out. You know, neat. You know, and so just try it. You know, just try messing with things. This is if anything else you get from today's lecture, other than the basics of Unreal Engine, it's that I want you to have a sense of play in this class. I know, games are a serious topic. We normally don't play very much. But when doing game development, I want you to just play with everything. Just see what happens. You know, like what happens if we have, I don't know, this box over here, I'll put it back in the air. And we got over here simulate physics, right? So what's the difference between simulate physics and simulate gravity? I don't know. Let's find out. Bloop. Oh, it doesn't fall either. Okay. So in order for it to fall, it both has to simulate physics and it has to simulate gravity. Interesting. All right, that's cool. And what does it mean for it to have mass, right? I don't know. Let's try that. Okay. All right. Come up here. Oh, I can push it. Okay. All right. That's neat. All right. Kind of kick it around a little bit. All right. So what happens? Let's just try it. Let's just try setting the mass to 1 kilogram. All right. Let's see what happens. It falls. It seems about the same. All right. What if I kick it? Boom! Oh, look at that. Cool, right? Yeah. It's very cool. It's fun. Just play with it. If you set the mass to, you know, just try going up and down in order of magnitude on these things and just see what happens, right? Just play with it. Right? Now you kick it. It's a lot slower now, right? Okay. So, yeah, it's fun. Best start often starts as a mistake. See, with an attitude like that, Isaac, you could go to work for Bethesda. Undidgeridude. Some back over there. The best games are mistakes. That is the Bethesda philosophy. I was playing Fallout 4, and there was a bug in Fallout 4 where your companions would randomly fall through the world if you're walking over an underground area. And so you're just walking along, and they suddenly just bloop, and they're in like a subterranean area. And if it's got a closed door, they're trapped in there permanently. And there's no solution to it. And so you just have to go and find another companion. And so at some point in the game, I had probably 6 or 7 companions locked in an underground basement that I had no idea where it was, you know. And there's no functionality in the game to like call a companion to you, you know, which seems pretty basic. Like if you fast travel, they should teleport with you, and there was nothing. And so I just ended up going through every companion in the game, which, you know, worked out to be kind of cool because you get to learn all the different people's backstories before you lock them in a basement forever, right? But Bethesda. Right? Okay. So do you guys understand the details tab over here? The basic details are up at the top, and that's your location, rotation, and scale, right? So you can edit these things directly if you want. 2450, these are centimeters, remember, so that was a 50 centimeter slide in the X direction. Which way is positive? Well, that's the direction the red arrow is, right? So if I take it down to 2200, that's negative 250 centimeters that way, right? So every time you click on something, you can see the direction of the axes, and it's also shown right here on the bottom left corner of the screen. So as you rotate the camera around, it very helpfully reminds you which way is up, right? This way is Z, this way is Y, this way is X. So as you rotate it around, you can't, it's like a compass, kind of, right? Or you just click on an object and see. Fortify Restoration Bug was legitimately useful for expanding gameplay in Skyrim. Which bug are you talking about? Because my character had 0% mana cost on all of his spells, which is kind of fun. So you just use the spell maker to make the world's most powerful spell with an infinite mana cost, basically, and reduce the spell cost to 0, and you just go around blasting dragons out of the sky. It's kind of fun. It's kind of neat. Good times. Alright, so details tab. Okay, now down here at the bottom of the screen, we have the content browser, and you might have seen me earlier when I was messing around with laser zombies. You might have seen me earlier dragging laser zombies up onto the world. Well, now I'm going to explain it to you. So on the left-hand side here, there is a file browser kind of thingy. It's got the whole directory of your project. If you're ever curious where this is on disk, by the way, right-click, go to... right-click, maybe it doesn't work for all. Right-click and go to Show and Explore. And this will take you to where it is on disk. And that's actually useful in a lot of circumstances. And so, like if you want to copy the, things around. So, or you want to know how much space it's taking up, because they don't really tell you. Size map. Let's see, is this new? Ooh, that's new. 694 megs. Okay, that's cool. Neat. All right, awesome. Okay, so we have the content browser down here, and everything's in a content folder, and it's organized in a way I'm not really a huge fan of. Starter content is sounds, textures, props, things like that they will give every starting project unless you uncheck that box. And so anytime you make a new project, first-person shooter, third-person, whatever, it'll have the same directory called starter content. And I usually tick it, because the only downside to ticking it is that it takes up some room. Let's see. Size map? It's 700 megs, whatever. It's less than a gig. It's nothing in terms of game development. You don't have it, T-Chrome? You don't see the thing down here? If you're in the game, hit escape to get back out. And you can also full screen the window. What happened here? I don't know what's going on here. If you ever screw up your layout, by the way, you can always go back to load layout default. UE4 classic. Yeah, nice. Check you out. Okay, neat. That's what I'm more familiar with, because I've been doing UE4 development for so long. So if you go to the window menu option and go to load layout UE4 classic, then it'll set up everything to look like it was in Unreal Engine 4. Okay. Okay. Control space hides and shows the yeah. And so that's the new Unreal Engine 5 thing, is that they have a drawer that kind of pops up. And so I'm stuck in my ways. I'm an old man. So yeah, if you want to follow along the way that I'm doing it, go to Window, load layout, UE4 Classic, and then it'll have a layout similar to what I've been doing. And then if you need to see more stuff, well, all of these things can be dragged off. So they have like these little docking windows or whatever they're called. So like let's say that you want more room. Let me get my face out of the way, and you're just like kind of annoyed at these things over here. You can drag them off, right? And you can see how like it'll allow you to snap them to different parts of the thing. You can also just drag it off entirely, and now you've got a new window, right? And so you can actually take this and like put it on your second monitor, right? And so you can just have your you can't see it now, but like I've got my outliner over here, and then I could be doing my development, and I can just close this tab entirely. There we go. I got lots of graphics space here. And then if I ever want to jump to the sun, I'm going to double click on the sun over here, and it jumps there. And so you can just have like having multiple monitors is really useful for doing game development. And so you can just have those. You can just rip those things off, and I'm just double clicking on random stuff now, and you just use that to navigate around your world. And if you ever want to redock it, you can just pull it back over, and I need to open up the side tab again. There we go. And then we can drag this up here. Nope. They're docking together. They're now. It's actually not a terrible idea. Actually, having the outliner and details switchable like this. It's actually not a bad idea. Because I don't use the like a lot of the times when I'm doing work in one area, I don't need the outliner, right? And so maybe I actually kind of prefer this. You know, the because this gives you more room to look at the outliner, and then details. There's a lot of details. Yeah, I'll stick with this. I'll save this. And so if you want to save your layout, save layout. This copy of UE4 classic layout, and this will be called build and a big outliner and details tab. There. And so if I ever want to go back to it, I can go up here and go to load layout and choose build. And it'll go back to my preferred layout style. And sometimes you will screw up Unreal Engine and you're not really sure what happened, and you're just staring at it, knowing how to reset the layout. Yeah. It's a good thing to know. You can screw it. It's not like it's permanently broken, but like you're just like, what's going on? I don't know. What did I click on? I don't know. Okay. Fortify restoration bugs section at the bottom. That's funny. Okay. No. Yeah. The game's exploitable enough even without like deliberately doing bugs, right? What's interesting in a texture and material? Great question. So a texture is a 2D picture. Okay. So let me do this. Okay. Okay, screenshot of my face, like that, and I just screenshotted my face, hit save, and I'm gonna save this to the desktop as Bill face. Okay, so that's a texture. Okay, it's just any 2D picture is a texture. Okay, it can be transparent. You can have a transparent background, for example, but basically just any 2D picture, and then I can add Bill face. Before I do that, let me tell you, I was on a rant a bit about the organization here. It's not really organized very well because like you might have blueprints here and like animations here, and they're both for the first person, but they're in two different folders. And then the weapon has materials and textures there, and I guess that kind of makes sense. It's got its own. And the level prototyping has its own, but then starter content has a group of them. It's just this really weird organization system, and it's not immediately obvious like where things are. Like you'll through the semester you'll see me like, is it in this folder? Is it, where's the projectile blueprint, right? And so you can get around that by clicking on the root level folder, typing like projectile, and then it'll pull up everything that has the word projectile in it. Nice. That's very useful if you want to find where stuff is. But at the same time, I recommend organizing your project in a sensible manner. So what I usually do is I usually create a content folder just called Bill. And you can not call it Bill if your name is different from mine. And then you can put your stuff in there. And usually inside of Bill, I'll have a folder for animations, textures, materials, meshes, things like that. So what is the difference between a texture and a material? So I'm going to import a texture right now. So I'm going to add, import. So you see the green button right here. This is how you pull things into Unreal Engine. And again, if you're not memorizing all this stuff, don't worry about it. We're going to, every time I do a lecture, I take everything step by step. I'm just giving you the high level view of everything right now. So if you want to bring something in to your game, a sound, a mesh is a 3D model like this, a material, artwork of some sort. There's a lot of ways of doing it, but I'm just going to go up here, hit import, click Bill Face, and there is Bill Face. And now I can drag this onto a surface like that, and you can see my face is there. Now it created a material out of that texture. So what is a material? A material is anything that can be applied to objects in the world. And so materials use textures, usually. They usually use a texture, but they're not quite exactly the same thing. If you're familiar with old school game development, all they had were textures. And so you would just take a picture and apply it directly onto an object. Okay. But the world has advanced a little bit since the 90s, and so now we have these things called materials. And materials have a little bit more information about the surface rather than just a picture. It'll have things like how shiny it is, and if it's metal or not, and things like that. So, so if I were to double click on the material here, then okay, so you can see that it created a material out of the texture. All right, so here's the texture sample, and we're gonna have a whole lecture on materials. So again, you don't have to worry about this too much, but like it created it for me. It created a material out of the texture, and the scaling is all kind of screwed up. And so let's see, scale. Where are you? No. Somewhere in here, there is an option. It's called like scale UV coordinates or something. Yeah, scale UVs. Yeah, I'll find it at some point. UV5 is a little bit different. But you can adjust the scaling so the face gets bigger and smaller as a result of it. Moved it over here. 1 second. It was under the texture. Go back to the material, and let's see if this still works. You don't have to follow along. I'm just kind of messing around right now. So, there we go. And you can, so with the content browser, if you have a material, you can just drag it out onto the surface. So you're obviously not going to have a cool, fancy picture of my face like that. But, yeah, that's a little too much. But there are materials in the starter content. So if you go to starter content, and go over to materials, you can see that there's things like bricks and things like that. So you can see the scaling makes them look really ugly. Okay. And they don't line up with each other because these are different objects and things like that. So those are all things that could be fixed. Maybe something like gold. Nah, it still looks terrible. And so in the content browser, basically you can drag objects out to the world. So under props here, starter content props, you can just take a statue and just kind of put it out in the world if you want. And that's how you that's how you add things to the world. So you just drag things up from the drawer down here, and just boop, and you want a window frame. There you go. There's a window frame, and then you can use the rotate, translate, and scaling tools to kind of put them wherever you want. Just drag them out. And if you want to do a material, then just find a material you like. I like gold, and it doesn't look too bad, right? And you can see that the gold has different. It's not just a picture, right? Like that's a picture. You can see there's no difference in like shininess, based on if it's skin or not, things like that. It's just literally a picture. It's a material that's a texture. So to answer your question, there's kind of no difference for this. But you can look at gold, and you can see that different parts of the texture are shinier than others, right? Like there's the darker part here that's not as shiny. It doesn't reflect as much light. And then there's the burnished parts that are shinier. And then if we look at this little glass statue here, it is transparent, right? But it also warps the. Can you see at the top right edge of the statue there? It's actually refracting light through it. Do you see that? Like it's a curved glass surface, and it's actually. Can you see on it there? I don't know if it's coming through on the stream, but like it's actually refracting light going through it, which is pretty neat. Yeah. See that? Pretty cool. So that's a material. So that's the difference between a material and a texture. Textures are often used in materials, but everything in the world basically has material these days. Let's see if I can get close to it. Can you see it now? Do you see the refraction of the lens? I don't know. I like UV5. That's cool. Okay, so any questions about the content browser? This is what you're going to be using a lot to build your world. Okay. Now, on the left-hand side here, this isn't shown by default. So if you load the UE4 Classic layout, this will appear. Otherwise, you can turn it on and off with the place actors. It doesn't turn off anymore. That's interesting. Huh. I guess you have to close it. Interesting. So by default, UE5 doesn't show the place actors tab anymore. And so you might have to turn that on under the window menu. And this gives you all of the basic stuff. So down here in starter content props, there's like the statue and the table and the chair that I showed you earlier, things like that. In the place actors, these are like the basic tools. Okay, so here is shapes, and so these are your basic kind of Euclidean shapes or whatever. So if you want to put a sphere into your world, you can just drag out a sphere. So you just click and drag, and then it'll appear in your world wherever your mouse is. And then there you go. You got a sphere. Does it have gravity on by default? No. Can you shoot it? Yes. Does it move? No. So if you want to put a cube out and make a simple wall, you go over here, just drag out a cube, and then you can just kind of move these things around however you want, and scale them if you want. Just don't put a material on it. And there you go. You got a wall. Yay. Typically not especially useful, but it is useful when you are blocking out a level. And so this is something that Isaac and Collins are going to work on in IS50B. They're going to rough out a level using what's called gray box. The gray boxing level is basically this. All right, you got all these gray boxes everywhere, and who cares about the scaling? And you're basically trying to create the flow of a level. You're trying to create the bones of a level, and then you play test it extensively to see if it works. Can I jump from this platform to this platform? Is there a choke point? That kind of stuff. So, IS50A people, you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, if you ever want to put a thing out, if you need a cone, there you go. You can pull them out from over here. Typically, though, you're going to get art assets. And if you're like, well, how do I get? It's cool that they gave us like a chair and a rock or something, but that doesn't take you very far. How do I get more art into my game? Okay, because these things don't look very good, right? And we're going to go through lighting at some point. We're going to go through triggers at some point. Not today, though. So how do you get more assets into your world? And let's turn it up to 10. There you go. There. Where is it? Oh yeah. So there's something called the marketplace. Okay, and the Unreal Engine marketplace is pretty good. I heard they were integrating it more into the editor, but I'm not seeing it here. I'm not seeing it here. So I'm going to go back to the Epic Game Store. Okay. And if you want to get assets for your game, you can pay money for it. I don't recommend it, though. This is you're college students. I'm not expecting, and I don't want you spending money. But right here, there's the marketplace. But there's a lot of stuff for free. Okay, and even better than stuff for free is.
Is this one of the sources?
Yes. Not for Alaska, no.
Okay.
It is a history book. Did you read it?
Nope.
Right.
It doesn't look like
It is His Majesty's Dragon, the #1 book in the Temerier series, which is basically Master and Commander, or the Maturin and Aubrey series. Napoleonic War era, very British. It was a movie. My daughter's working on a history project. So. It's a fantastic movie if you've never seen it. It's a book series, but yeah. There's Russell Crowe in it. This movie, if you've never seen it, it's really good. If you like history, it's actually a really fantastic movie. And so this book here is basically the Maturin and Aubrey series with dragons. So it's historical fantasy, I guess. It's England is fighting Napoleon in the Napoleonic Wars, and France has its dragons, and England has its dragons, and he's sailing a sailing ship, and he has a dragon. It's pretty cool. Interesting. The boat that movie is docked in SD. Yeah, The Surprise is home based in San Diego, at the San Diego Maritime Museum. There you go. Yep, San Diego. And I've been on there. I've got some photographs of me in the area where they filmed the movie. Okay. Anyway, so where were we? Marketplace. So in the marketplace, there is the very important free section right here. Yep. And it is extensive. There is a lot of free stuff. And a lot of it comes from Epic themselves. And so they've bought out different companies. The Quixel people were bought out by Epic. So Quixel is a company that makes very realistic textures. What they actually do is they go into reality and they scan reality. It's a process called photogrammetry, or it's a field called photogrammetry. And so they'll go out there with very high resolution laser scanners and cameras and things like that. Smaller objects they'll put on a stand and spin them and scan them from all sides. But I've seen people doing this, and they're like photographing a rock. I just imagine somebody hiking by, and there's like 10 people, like, staring at a boulder, and you're like, why are you staring at that boulder? And they're like, it's got the best moss on it ever, and they're like photographing it from all sides, and it's hilarious. And so this is a 3D scanned tree, right? So, and does it cost anything? No. Pretty nice though. Pretty nice looking for free. You know what I mean? Like, it's I like that boulder. That's a nice boulder. Yeah. Yeah. The mega scans are incredible, and they take up a lot of hard drive space too, and they don't tell you, like, unless I sent an email to Epic, and I'm like, you need to tell me how big this thing is before I buy it, because it kind of matters to me, because this is before I upgraded to 27 terabytes hard drive space, because I don't want to have to uninstall Red Dead Redemption to download a tree, you know what I mean? And so yeah, it doesn't tell you how big it is, right? Okay, let's try adding it. Let's try adding it to summer. Oh, it doesn't support Unreal Engine 5. Yeah. Spring 22. Shell projects. Let's see here. Summer 22. Asset is not compatible. That's unfortunate. Yeah, and that's a problem with the asset store. Is it versions can be very picky of what it works with. So I'll just add it to last semester's thing here. Hit add to project, and then you'll see it queuing, initializing. Then it tells you it's 8 gigs for a tree. For one tree. 8 gigs. They do not care about people's hard drive space. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, if they had any consideration for destroying people's SSDs, they would have a size on here somewhere. Like, right here, like how many gigs it is. Like, just put up that information. And it's fine when it's free, because you can buy it, hit download, cancel. That's fine. But like when you're purchasing things and it turns out like you can't even store it, or worse, like it's got to go up onto Perforce or something. You've just now shared 100 gigs of art assets with your people in Oakhurst. That's like, I think that's a valid criticism of the Unreal marketplace, because they just don't tell you how big things are. They don't care. It doesn't register them. What, you don't have infinite hard drive space? Like, what's going on here? Okay, filter. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the free section, become friends with the free section. The free for the month section especially. So you want to get into the habit of every month purchasing everything on the free for the month section, because it's permanently added to your collection permanently for free. And these are actually usually really expensive things. So the point and click adventure toolkit is $50, but for the month it's free. And then it goes back to being $50. That's not like a fake $50 thing. Like, a Black Friday sale. Normally this is a $3,000 blanket, but we'll sell it to you for $20. No, it's not like that. Those are actually expensive things that they put up for free for the month. And so very much you want to go to free for the month, click add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, and add to cart. Ooh, turn-based RPG template. Nice. And then you go over here, click on the shopping cart. This doesn't work, by the way, if you have if I ever turn my VPN on, this doesn't work. Like, for whatever reason, the marketplace doesn't work if you purchase it through a VPN. I don't know why. Like, it might be a security thing, but like, I'm logged in, like I'm still authenticating myself, and it's not like they tell you. It's not like they say, hey, if you use a VPN, it doesn't work. you just can't click on the buttons. Sorry, you can click on you can buy it, but you can't actually click on the assets to look at them. So I don't even understand what the purpose of that is. But yeah, just so you're aware, if you have a VPN, this breaks, and it's just, in my opinion, a bug. So yeah, $400 of free assets. Check out. Thank you very much. I would like to have $400 of free assets, please. I've been doing this for years. Every month I log in and buy everything for free. So I've got a library worth, probably tens of thousands of dollars of stuff for free. I have given money to various artists in the past. My daughter was working on a project called Hedgehog World, and so I actually purchased with real cash money, if I could type, a hedgehog. I bought this one, $25. I purchased an actual hedgehog. I didn't buy that one. That one's weird looking. So yeah, you can just search for like hedgehog, and then these are like fortification hedgehogs. But yeah, so I bought a hedgehog for a hedgehog. All right. Are these royalty free? Yes. If you purchase them, you by definition have licensed them for your game. Any game you make. So, yeah, they're not royalty free exactly because you've paid money for them, right? But yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point is you purchase an asset and then you can use it extensively in your game. All of the licensing issues are taken care of. If you bring in assets from outside of the UE4 marketplace, you have to make sure that the licenses and the copyright and all that kind of stuff is cleared. You know what I mean? But anything on the marketplace here is good. All right, UE5 tab. Let's go to Mega Scans and UE5. So these are the ones that work with UE5. Blood, asphalt, abandoned apartment. And if you click on them, they usually add some pretty good previews of this kinds of assets. So all this stuff's free. This is free. And so, you might have to spend some time, like, kind of going through it, Like if you're making, like, I don't know, a ski game or something. Like, you're going to go to UE5, materials, and, I don't know, search snow, you can see all the different snow. There's 297 results for snow, right? There's a lot of snow. And then you got to read the descriptions, and like some of them will have like blueprints, which means like as you walk through the snow, it'll actually like kind of carve through the snow and leave footprints behind and things like that. Some of them are just pictures; they're just textures, right? And so it can be a little bit time consuming, and I don't really have a good solution for that. Finding the right asset can take a while, and the UE4 marketplace is not the only place you can get assets as well. All right, so what do I want to add to my world? UE5 Megascans. What theme? Give me a theme. Give me some ideas in chat. What do you guys think? What should I add to my world? Quarry. What are these? Plasters. Oh, I don't own these yet. We can remedy that. Add to cart. Add to cart. Wooden planks. Wooden planks. Alright. Let's purchase those real fast. The other downside is that the asset library that you have is not organized at all. Like, there's some checkboxes to filter on like materials versus other things, but basically it just gives you a list of every material you have. And if you're trying to find a material whose name you don't remember, like you're trying to find a tree and it's found in a material pack called decorative materials or something, like it can become really annoying to try and organize because it's basically completely unorganized. Geodes, water, Minecraft, we are the rats, gyms, rats, Hydra, rats. It's just Betancourt saying rats over and over again. Roblox, purple. Okay, so let's go with purple geodes or something. So, did you see geodes here? Was there a geode? Is there a geode option here? Okay, scans from a mine. Anime girl, cobblestones. All right, let's see if we can find a geode. No content found. What about Geodude? No. All these cost cash money. Their search leaves much to be desired. No geodes. Well, there's an opportunity there if you want to make some money. A lot of people I know in game development today don't actually make games anymore. They just make parts of games and then sell them on the asset store. You know, so they animated a hedgehog and rigged it so it has properly, will properly move left and right and all that kind of stuff. Like, throw it up for $25, whatever. Maybe some dude's gonna make a game with his daughter and, give you money. And they actually make more money selling just like little pieces of games than they do actual games. Ooh, fantasy for it. That sounds cool. All right, there's a lot of stuff here. Let's see. These are just materials. Is there like walls and stuff? Probably. It's not much of a fort, is it? Right? Not too impressed by that one, actually. You do have one? All right. Make a blacksmith? Yeah, that'd be cool. Alright, any day now. Any day now, Unreal Marketplace. Okay, I'm just going to go to my library because I've already got a lot of stuff. So these are all the different assets that I purchased over the years. I told you I got a lot. Alright, so you wanted to find like a blacksmith. Alright, let's search my library for smith. Unreal Data Smith, nope. Maybe a forge. Nope. Metal. Industrial metal or pristine metal? I like pristine metal. That sounds cool, right? Pristine metals. That's kind of cool, right? What do you think? Think I should do pristine metals or rusty metals? What do you think? Rusty, pristine. ¿Por qué no los dos? Let's do both. All right. So once you've found an asset and you've purchased it, it appears in your library tab, right? Like I said. And then you can click Add to Project. And is it not going to work again? I bet it's not going to work again. Summer 22. Yes, it is compatible. Sweet. And now it's going to download 1.6 gigs to put just a couple metal textures into my level. And then we'll add industrial metals to Summer 2022. And I wish you could filter that based on compatibility with stuff. We can't. So, yeah. The whole asset management thing is like a legitimate problem. They are heavy metals. Very nice. Well done, sir. You have to install it to the engine first, depending on the asset as well. It depends if it's like a plugin or something like that. Yeah. So, you can see your plugins that are installed here. Minimap, asset cleaner. That's actually useful. Anyway, so once this thing downloads, I'm going to switch back into my project, and you'll see it appear there. But we're coming to the end of class today. So what I'd like to do is talk about sort of the structure of this class. Okay, we've basically got a 4-week class. In each class, you're going to learn things, and you need to do some stuff, right? You can't learn by just listening to me ramble on for a while. You have to do. You have to learn by doing. Okay. And so what I want you to do today is I want you to make a snowman. Okay. So that's your homework. You have 45 minutes left in class. That should be enough time to do it. If you don't have Unreal Engine installed yet, do it later today. Not a big deal. I can show you how I would do a snowman real fast. We already got a ball there, actually. So tap end. There it is. We got a ball on the ground. Yep. And I'll drag out another sphere and stack it on top. Or, rather than doing that, because that's going to be a little bit weird and awkward, check this out. Wait, how did you do that? If you hold down Alt while dragging, it makes a duplicate. And so you just make a snowman really fast, just like that. Okay. You want to build a snowman. And then just give it a texture. Okay. So don't use the default white. Snow's not white, right? Don't make it grass. That looks stupid. Maybe gravel. Gravel, maybe. Yeah, it's not great. Concrete. Yeah, looks a little better. Okay. Something like that. Like make a non just boring white snowman. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna drag out a sphere and a sphere and a sphere. That looks like a melted snowman. Drag out 3 spheres. What I did was I dragged out one, snapped it to the ground, and then I held down Alt to drag a duplicate so it's perfectly aligned on top of each other. If they're not perfectly aligned, you can always come up here and like mess with the location so that everything lines up properly. I don't want to see any melted snowmen. I want it perfectly aligned like this, and then you can add a nose to it. You can add a nose by just rotating it around a little bit, scaling it down a little bit, moving it into place. You got a nose, and then you got to have a carrot for a nose. I'm going to pick the orangest thing I can find. Maybe that. Yeah, a little wooden nose, maybe. There you go. And then we need some coal eyes, right? We need some. These are going to be spheres also, but they need to be smaller spheres, right? So we're going to shrink it down a little bit. We're going to move it up here. Move it over here. And that's inside of it, so we need to just push it out a little bit. There you go. And if the snap to grid is too big, you can adjust the snap size. You get a little bit more fine control over it. Okay. And then once it's in place, I'm just gonna. Oh, I need to give it. It needs to be coal. It needs to be black, right? So nothing there. Now you'll notice that the. Let's see here. Pristine metals. Iron. So once that thing downloads, then a new folder will appear in your content browser. Okay? And so this is the pristine metal folder here. And you can see that inside of it there are maps that are demo maps. They'll show you all of the materials. So you can kind of open up the map, look at it, and go, yeah, I like that one. And then you just click in here, and you can see that they've got 8 different pristine metals at the low cost of gigabytes of hard drive space. And so, lead. That sounds cool. Let's put lead on it. Let's give it some lead eyes so we can poison the kids. There we go. And then once you have the eyes the way you like it, hold down Alt and drag. And there you go. And so now, we've got a snowman. All right, that is your assignment for tomorrow. Okay? So, is the platonic ideal of a snowman. I know, right? Yeah, so, do you guys understand? Do you think you can do that? Drag out 3 spheres, drag out a cone, stack them up, add some textures to them, add some materials to them, technically, and make some eyes. These are kind of bulging eyeballs, but it's a snowman. It's okay. There's snowballs. How do you turn it in? So in this class, you're going to turn it in by screenshotting it. So in order to screenshot on a Windows machine, the easiest way is to hold down Windows key, Shift S. It froze me in place like that. And then just drag it out like that. And then if Unreal has a seizure anytime you move the mouse over a menu, you might need to try to relaunch it. It also just could be because you're running it on Linux. Like I said, it's not, it's your own responsibility at this point, I think. So yeah, screenshot it, and then on Canvas, there's going to be a place where you can upload a file. Just upload it there, and also put it on Discord also, because one of the fun things about this class is getting to see what other people are doing, right? And so people in the past, sometimes they make a boring snowman like mine. Sometimes they make a really, horrific one, For example, a snowman with my face on it. Right? Freezing? What's going on here? Oh, I'm playing the game right now, sorry. Yeah, you have to escape. And then I can mess with the texture scaling on it. There you go. It's a beautiful snowman. Your Epic keeps taking to a window. How do I stay in the Unreal app? What do you mean it keeps taking you to a window? What window is opening up? Let's put it that way. Because you can snap any of these things off into separate windows. A lot of times when you're doing blueprint editing, it opens up a new window. You can dock them like this, right? And so like when it created the material and opened the material up, it opened in a new window. But I docked it. You can rip these things off, and then you can you can place them back on like that. And so I like being able to just click back and forth like this. So like if I wanted to adjust the UV scaling, you can adjust it and then see how it looks, and then, or if I have 2 monitors, I put one over here and one over here, and it allows me to edit and see the changes very quickly. Okay. So do you guys understand? You're going to make an IS50B, people. I'm going to be talking to you next. So when you click free and mega scans, it opens in Google. Windows Shift S doesn't work for you anymore. Do you know a possible fix? Yes. Windows Shift S fails for me about a third of the time. It copies it to the clipboard, but it doesn't actually open up the little window that you can click on to save the file. Don't know why. It's just completely random as far as I can tell. And so there is another tool you can use called the snipping tool. And, oops, come over here and search for snip. If you search for snipping tool always works. But it yells at you because snipping tool is moving to the new tool that works much better, except it doesn't. Snip and sketch is the new thing, Windows Shift key S. You should be using that. You're an idiot for not. No, try snip and sketch. No, I don't. I don't want any of that. Just go away. Hide instruction text. I don't know. So, yeah. So if you use the snipping tool, it always works. And so you just hit new snip, and you just select your snowman, and then you can go up and hit save. Okay. And then you're going to upload that to Canvas, and you're going to upload it to Discord. So this gets you furious. Yeah, I hate it when Microsoft does the whole, did you know? Our new browser. No. Shh. Stop. Just stop. Edge is not. No, be quiet, Microsoft. Gotta search something on Bing. Oh, that's pretty. I like the Bing search engine, actually. I like this. Yeah, there you go. Mickey. No. Go away. Go away. Stop. How do you shrink shapes? Use the scaling tool. So if you click on a orb, as you call it, and you go to scale, that allows you to make it bigger and smaller. And you can scale in one axis if you want to have an egghead snowman. Okay, sorry. I amuse myself sometimes. Or you can scale it out wide. But usually when you scale, you click on the white box in the middle there. And the white box allows you to make things bigger and smaller. Okay. So, if you don't want to click and drag, because the snapping is kind of, it doesn't, there's not a whole lot of options when it snaps, right? You can actually come in here and lock the, you can lock the scaling by clicking the little lock symbol there. And then you can precisely say, give me 0.8 size or whatever. And it changes all three of them to 0.8 size. Okay. Any other questions? Hope you guys had fun today. I know class was canceled and this is just a guy talking, you know, but yeah, then you might have to use Windows. I don't know, or update your if you're using Nuvo or something like that on Linux. They're kind of flaky sometimes. Good. Glad you had a good time. IS50 stuff you're going to talk about. Yeah. So Ship and Collins don't go anywhere. We're going to switch over into IS50B in a second, but making a reverse snowman, interesting. Inside out. You know, if you take a snowball and turn it inside out, the rest of the world is a snowman. The entire rest of the universe is a snowman. It's just math. You're on Windows right now. Someone has. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've had Unreal flick. Is it like flickering and things like that? I've had that happen to me before too. It happens at school actually a lot. And once it starts doing that, the only solution is to close it and relaunch it. So, and if that doesn't help, I don't know. It's just a bug that's been around in Unreal for a long time. So, it could be a driver issue. You could try that. Also, you might want to try just using Unreal Engine 4. I don't think anything we're doing in here is going to make too much of a difference. Things will look a little different, but you can try Unreal Engine 4 instead and see if that changes. Are you using ray tracing, Gregory? Nice. I like it. That is a reverse snowman right there. I love it. Okay. Yeah, so once I put the assignment up on Canvas, what you're going to do is upload the file on Canvas, and then you've already posted it on Discord, so you're good to go. And you'll get 100%. And so basically the way this class works as far as grading is daily participation is half your grade. So just showing up, doing the work like this, it's not... You know, I know Margaret was asking about the amount of homework. You saw how long that took me to make. Like, the goal is not to murder you, with homework. Yeah, but I mean, there will be daily work. So basically, you show up, have fun, do the work. A lot of times I give you lab time, like today you have until 3:30, technically. Class ends at 3:30. And just you should be able to knock it out on the spot, but maybe, just depending on how things go, you might need to have a laptop at home to work on it. Okay. Oh, different chroma too. Not including Snowball. It's just, let's see, I don't know what we can do with that. What's the worst thing we could do? You could probably, let's see, duplicate. Okay, so I'm going to oh wow, that's just straight up into, oh, there we go. Okay, so okay, snap it here. If I can do something, there should be a Fresnel on here. Yeah, there's Fresnel. Okay. something horrible here real fast. Not always that fast. What happened to your snowman, T-Chrome? Oh. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, check that out. I like that. All right. So what I'm sorry, I amuse myself sometimes. So I mess with the Fresnel effect. Fresnel, if you are a physics person, is the refraction through a surface. And so I'm messing with it by adding some Perlin noise to it. So you see how it's got that mottled effect now? I kind of dig it. I don't know. And it's just like a recursive snowman now. So this is, yeah, you wanted a recursive snowman, you got a recursive snowman. This is what you get when you have me as the professor in this class. Not every professor of game development will give you a recursive snowman, but I will. So it's a promise from me to you. Okay, so that's it for today. I can show you how to do this kind of stuff in a future lecture. All you have to do is make a snowman. Okay, so 58 people, you're welcome to hang out, ask any questions if you want, but I'm going to switch hats, and I'm going to go from 50A to 50B. Yeah. Okay. Inverted binary snowman. That's funny. The guys are refusing to copy. Hold down Alt and drag, or if you have anything selected, you can hit Control W. Control W is the shortcut to duplicate something. Copy paste also works. What are we thinking for tomorrow's session? I don't know. The school is currently trying to figure out stuff, so basically just stay tuned. As soon as I know something, I'll tell you. That's the best I can say at this point. So I will create, yeah. So there, I'm going to change the name of workshop voice. I'm just going to call this student voice or something. So I'm going to create a voice chat for you. And if you, because this channel is only for professors to talk in and tutors. If you want to voice chat and work on the project, hop over into student voice. In fact, maybe all of the 58 people should do that in just 1 second so that I can talk with the 50B people without my voice distracting you. So if you guys want to pop over there, once 3:30 rolls along, you're free to go. Or technically, once you get your snowman done, you can just GTFO. Okay. So that is class. No, Ship and Colin stay here. Everyone else, hop over into student voice is my recommendation. Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording here. I'm going to put it up on YouTube. I will post the YouTube video onto Canvas so that people who weren't here today can watch it and do the homework by tomorrow. Okay. So again, this class is supposed to be fun. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to do stuff, but it's fun. It's not really designed to murder you, you know, in terms of academic homework and stuff like that. But you'll come out of it knowing a lot because there's a lot to game development. It's actually a really big field, and you know, between 50 and 50B, you'll at least have a good basis. All right, peace out, everybody, and switch over to student voice. And now recording.